Good afternoon. Very good. I appreciate that. I'm Mike Bear, obviously Director of the Winthrop P. Rockefeller Cancer Institute, and I welcome you to our Q6 monthly town hall meeting. For those of you, we planned this well. We decided to keep you hungry and run out of box lunches and freezing, okay? So hungry and cold. If you do get frostbite, we have medics here to help you out, okay? Okay, so the agenda here is to kind of give you an idea of the update of what's going on in the Cancer Institute. There's been a lot of changes. I will fashion it a little bit. Tim, some room down here if you want. Okay, we got to have the important people up here. Come on, Tim. You can all sit down here too if you like. I will fashion it a little bit about what we are going to do when we apply for the CCSG, the core grant, which is coming up. And ultimately, that application will then go to a site visit, and the site visit will involve a little bit of what you see here. So one of the elements that's really important, you've seen this before, I think, are the 6 essential characteristics of a cancer center. The NCI wants us to look and function like a cancer center. And they have specific components of that shown here in this wonderful diagram. And I'm going to go through this to where we are and what we've done on these 6 essential characteristics. So first is physical space. And I will say I've been in my travails through my career, been at a lot of places. This, the UAMS, the Winthrop P. Rockefeller Cancer Institute, is by far the best cancer building I've ever been in. And we enjoy not just that, but we also enjoy the Walker Tower, which is a little bit older, but it's fine research space. So if you look here, I think I got my cursor here. Yeah, there we go. So the Rockefeller Tower is huge, 334,000 square feet. It's broken down into what I call mixed use space. There's clinics here with patients, but there's also research labs. It was designed that way, not by me, but I'll take credit for it. In that you have researchers very close to the patient that encourages translational research. The Walker Tower is also mixed space, as you can see here. There's also offices and shared resource spaces, all in 2 buildings. Now, it's important since to recognize, since we are a matrix cancer center, we are not standalone. What I mean by that? Memorial Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson, Roswell Park, these are standalones. The director of those institutions is also the CEO. I like that idea, but not here. So we are matrix, which means we have to sort of stretch our wings across the campus. And so that's why we put down here important other elements. Biomed 1, research and office space. Biomed 2, research and office space. We participate with BioVentures, Radiation Oncology Center. We contributed to that building. And obviously, there's a lot of clinical and even some basic science research going there. We have inpatient space, approximately 34,000 square feet. And then we're hiring right now into the College of Public Health. And of course, we have other office space scattered throughout the university. So that is a true matrix cancer center. This is a more granular and complex slide just showing what's going on in the Walker Tower, shown here, and the Rockefeller, shown here. These, I thought, it took me about 4 days to figure out these were not just connecting lines. These are actually the staircases. Thank you, Brian, for confusing the hell out of me. But you can see here in terms of the space, you've got research labs mixed in with administration, mixed in with clinical space. Clinical space here, this is a newly renovated 7th floor. Every time you go through there, it's gorgeous space. We have also the infusion center on 6th, probably the best infusion center I've ever seen. Our phase 1 unit is there. Pharmacy is right here also. Infusion Center A was an older infusion center, but it was completely renovated. So our patients get the absolute best physical structure that you could want in a cancer center. And then we have a breast center, which is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you, Gwen. Lots of artwork there, very pretty. And bone marrow procurement there because we do a lot of bone marrows, derm clinic, and then in the lobby as you come in. And this is the breakdown on the Walker Tower. And you can just see in these boxes some of the activities, some of which are complete, some of which are ongoing, but that we've orchestrated and contributed to. So structural biology, we hired 3 spectacular researchers shown here, renovated the entire space. They have gotten together to put in an NSF grant, which is a shared resource type equipment. That would be for cryo-EM. And then obviously in this whole operation, the newly obtained cancer COBRI by Dr. Off is the centerpiece for a lot of those investigators. In connection with that, I was asked, since we've got structural biologists and we have targets, can we do drug screening? I'm not a big fan of drug screenings in cancer centers because the criticism at the site visit is, why are you doing what Pfizer can do in 24 hours? And there's a certain legitimacy to that. But what we decided to do is set up the equipment, organize it, streamline it, and make it an efficient drug screening operation for specific targets that the Winthrop B. Rockefeller Cancer Institute investigators, the CI investigators, have identified. So we can go from protein, structure, libraries, drug screening, into the clinic. I think NCI will like that. Our tumor bank is here also. We've upgraded that from a software standpoint, and we're working on maybe enlarging that. And then more renovations here. Proteomic operation is obviously a national resource run by Alan Tackett. He has just resubmitted his R24. We have pledged for the Cancer Institute approximately $4 million for that. I think that will help persuade any study section to support that. It's an incredible resource for us. And ultimately, Alan, we're working on it, may go to the Barton building with this whole operation. And then that will be a floor there, but it'll also free up space here in the Rockefeller. And then I would be neglectful of it and point out that Daniel Voth was successful in putting in a new grant for an updated vivarium. Like everything else from the NIH, the budget was cut by about 30%. So he got approximately 6.8 million. And we added back about 3.8 million to finish it. So, and the deal cut there was, look, we do a lot of animal work in the Cancer Institute, so we want to claim to about 25% of it. Whether we get that or not, we'll see. I'll send Tackett after them. He's a tough man. And more importantly, there's a huge, going to be a huge imaging center for small animals. There's going to be MRI, CT. There'll also be at least 2, 3, or 4 radiators. And let's see, Marianne, where is she? Somewhere. Yep, there you are. 4 radiators, 3. I'm losing count. Start with 2. Conservative person. But the idea is that it's all on one side, it's all brand new, and that will really help our investigators. So number 2 is organizational capabilities. And so I just wanted to show you where the org chart is. They're going to look very carefully at the org chart. So you can see here, I'm not going to go through everybody, but our associate directors, who are the lifeblood of the strategic vision for the Cancer Institute, essentially are in place. If you look down in the far corner, Dan Dixon is the latest addition. He is coming in the mid-September as Associate Director of Community Outreach and Engagement. We have one, and then Dr. Zhu came a while back, and you'll hear from him today. And we have one AD position open, which is the Director of Clinical Sciences. And we actually have a pretty good candidate who's coming for an interview shortly. You see our programs. which if these are the lifeblood for strategic vision, this is the lifeblood of the Cancer Institute, meaning that they actually organize and do the work in terms of the programs. And we have expanded the leadership, essentially taking the leader here, Steve Post, and giving him 2 co-leaders, taking the leader here, Fritz Van Ree, and giving him 2 co-leaders. And we're working on CPPS, which is a little more challenging because we've not had a huge cancer epidemiology program, which would be the appropriate people for this, but we think we're changing that. Under all of that is the staff. And again, a lot of this has been organized and the hiring has been performed by Amy Jo Jenkins, the Associate Director for Administration. You can see on the top line here is the Associate Director line, essentially with a few exceptions like Josh, and I'll introduce him later on. And then here are the staff who, if the program leaders are the lifeblood for the research, they're the lifeblood from an operational standpoint. They get the job done. They get us all here. They announce this meeting. They weren't in charge of the temperature, so can't blame them. So it's a good crew. I think that we are where we need to be to get this done and put in the application. So in addition to those individuals, we need to have an external advisory board that's active and frankly has the gravitas, if you will, the credentials to get the job done. This is our external advisory board. Kunle Adunsi here is the director of the University of Chicago Comprehensive Cancer Center. They just went through a renewal. They got an exceptional score. He's a terrific guy. I've known him for quite some time. Ed Chu is the director of the Albert Einstein Comprehensive Cancer Center. They've been designated for years. He was able to take them the comprehensive status. Claire Deese is in UNC, and she's actually focused very much on clinical trials for us. Marcel Del Carmen is actually Chief Medical Officer of MGH Brigham, a big operational job. Chad Ellis, for a long time, was at University of Pittsburgh, and it's just gone to Huron Consulting Group. You are allowed to have an industry partner on the external advisory board, and I think, frankly, he'll bring a different view for us, and so I welcome him. John Farley is at Dignity Health, a, quote, community oncologist. He's actually a GYN oncologist. Andy Godwin is deputy up at Kansas. Samir Khalif used to be the cancer director at the King Hussein Cancer Center in Amman, Jordan. So he brings that kind of leadership and an international view. And then Sora is out at University of California, Irvine, and she's really focused on community outreach and engagement. These individuals have seen our activities at least twice. The third external advisory board meeting will be the second week of November. And we may change the advisory board a little bit, not by pushing anybody off, but bringing on a few extra individuals. More to follow on that. Transdisciplinary collaboration and coordination, number 3. So this is the hardest one because no one quite knows what it means, including the NCI. But what it really means is if we're a matrix cancer center, then they want to make sure we're not a silo. We're sitting here in the Rockefeller, looking out at the view, doing our thing, but we're not participating with anybody else. That's a no-no. So we have to reach out and we have to collaborate. And so I put a couple of examples here where, because I think we do a pretty good job on this. The Translational Research Institute, we have a very strong collaboration with what Laura James does. I sit on the council, I meet monthly with Laura James. We were the co-sponsor of the Rural Research Network. The CTSA just went in for renewal, got a great score, got funded, depending on who you ask, 2.28 million. Now it's up to 31 million. It keeps changing and growing. That's good. The bottom line is we pledged 2.5 million for that grant. And I think it's important because it shows that we take it seriously what they do. They do a lot of clinical research. We also support their K-12 program. There, we only support individuals who are cancer focused, makes sense. And we support their master's program in clinical and translational science. Another example is the Arkansas Children's Hospital and their Research Institute. I will remind you that the Department of Pediatrics is actually located, if you will, in the Arkansas Children's Hospital. All MDs, RNs, they're all faculty members of UAMS. So that entire operation is staffed by us. So it's a very tight relationship. They use our IRB for approval for their clinical trials. All the NCTN trials that they open up through COG count for us. And it's a good relationship. I will point out one bad news when I went up and visited NCI was that the ACH and ACRI grants sitting over there do not count for our application. Why, you might say? That's crazy. We have a close relationship. They have a different DUNS number. What does a DUNS number mean? Well, a DUNS number is where the grant dollars flow. So NCI looks at it and says, well, that's not your grant. It's children's. I'm working on that. All right. Two other examples of our transdisciplinary collaboration and coordination. Neurofibromatosis Clinic came out of nowhere, established by Erica Santos Horta. New clinic, completely new flow of dollars. Why did we do this? Well, one was Natalie Rockefeller asked me to do that. I very rarely say no to Natalie. But two, more importantly, remember how it works. They're kids. They're over there. They're getting treated. They're getting diagnosed. They see people. They get to be 18. They can't stay there because it's a children's hospital. So what happened historically is they would come over to other places. They would see maybe 13 different doctors because these patients have a lot of issues. Now they see one. They go to one clinic, and that's what Dr. Horta runs. We actually obtained a Children's Tumor Foundation grant, help being written by myself and Alan Tackett for about $500K. And through Dr. Horta's efforts, that she's opened multiple clinical trials. So this is a win-win for everybody, and it's great for the patients. And then finally, I'll finish up with what I said before, the Division of Laboratory Animal Medicine. This is really a collaboration with all the investigators across the campus. It's a $7 million grant. It was cut 30%. We threw in 3.8. There's a win-win. We won our 25%. We'll see. And then there's a new animal imaging and radiation center. And at the same time, we said, look, there's a smaller vivarium right here in the Walker Tower. We're going to retain that. So there's, at the end of the day, I think we'll have the best animal facilities I've seen at the cancer centers I've been at. Okay. Number 4, cancer focus. This is a weird one, right? I mean, if you're a cancer center, you got to be cancer focused. Well, but they're going to look at it and they want to make sure that you're actually doing it. Believe it or not, some cancer centers will start doing, cardiovascular research. Doesn't count. Alzheimer's research doesn't count. It's got to be cancer focused. So that really gets back to our programs. And you can see here, cancer biology, cancer prevention, population science, cancer therapeutics, the number of full members, fairly robust, I think. Not bad. And then you see the total peer-reviewed funding listed, 7 million, 5 million, 3 million. It varies, basically year by year. And then that funds multiple projects. We obviously want to get these numbers as high as we can. But we also don't want to just tell people, look, you want to be a Cancer Institute member of one of the programs, just sign up. Because what the review committee looks at is what's the total amount of money, how many members are there? And they will say they don't do this, but they do it. I've been on the review panels. They divide them. And they expect somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000 peer review per member. So we can't have unlimited members. The other thing is, Alan's done a great job on this. We have established kind of a hierarchy for, well, if you're a full member, which means you've got grants and you're doing a great job, that gives you some privileges, which means you can apply for in-house funding and other things. That would be encouraging to affiliate and associate members to up their game and become full members. I did, as I said before, that's the status for our programs. And I did, as I said before, meet with the NCI Okay, I flew up there, I met with them. Henry Salino has been running that office for about 35 years. About 3 days after I met with him, he announced his retirement. I had nothing to do with it, okay? And they're looking for a replacement, but Henry runs a good shop. And so I really want to clarify some of the things I've already told you. ACH grants are not counted, but I'm working on it. He said there might be a way to get a special dispensation. I feel like I'm at the Vatican. Passive pass-through contracts are not counted. This is something that confuses a lot of you. You have a UO1, you've got even a multiple PI grant, which is a little easier, but certainly for a UO1 or a sport grant, if it's located in another institution and the money flows passively to UAMS, doesn't count. They say, well, that's the other institution's grant. It's not yours. So we have to remember that. That doesn't mean it's not helpful. You get money, but we have to keep that, in mind. The other one that shocked me is the VA grants don't count. They said, well, the money goes to the VA, doesn't go to you. Well, but our investigators are using it. But again, it's the same equation. If it's good for you, it's good for us. Keep it in mind. RCDC is their secret formula. Maybe not that secret. It's on the website. I think they lie. But the last RC, and this is what they look at. And I confirmed with them, the cutoff is 10 million. It's not 12 million, not 13 million. There's all sorts of rumors on this. It's 10 million. The last time we had it, we were at 6.5. Now, there were extenuating circumstances there. I don't think it was actually 6.5, but that's a little scary. 2 weeks after I met with them, they sent our RCDC value right now at 8.999 million. Wow, not bad. I think it's great. Huge growth. And more importantly, did not count recent grants. What do I mean by that? Take a look at this. These grants are not in that formula. Okay, we got the big Cobra grant. We've got Annalise's R03, our two R21s, Dr. Zeus, Dr. Post, another R21, Martin Cannon, R01, Alan Tackett, U01, no, that's me. Not in there. If you add this up, I think it adds about 3 million to the 9 million. We're at 12 million. My job is done. No. So I'm not going to say sit back, but I think from a granting dollar amount, we're looking pretty good. And I love this. I think Amy Jo, Brian for sure, and Alan are ready to kill me on this because of the pain to generate this. But I like this because what you're looking at are the 3 programs. And the bars, each bar is a grant. And it tells you how long the grant goes. It's important because let's say you've got a program that has lots and lots of money, but next year all the grants run out. Not good. So you can see here, it's variable, which is what we want. We want it staggered. And many of them go out 4 or 5 years. Everybody, and then the color coding, which gets a little complicated, but just tells you, is it pure NCI? Is it partial cancer related or is it non-cancer related? So again, I feel pretty good about where we are on this. You'll keep the pedal to the metal for granting. Okay. Number 5, institutional commitment. They're going to look very specifically and ask us, what does the institute contribute? And we just put down some numbers here for you. We get money, obviously, from the Arkansas state government. It's not small dollars. 207 million? Does that include my salary? No. So it's a good chunk of change. And of course, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be talking, we wouldn't be successful unless we had that line. But there are other sources. For instance, you have UAMS itself, that's the campus, we get 56 million from. 46 million in the Department of Internal Medicine, Hematology, Oncology, because our physicians are paid. We've got money coming in from HRSA grants. The HRSA grants were in the federal budget. We have to thank the Senator Bozeman for that. And that money comes back to us through HRSA grants. And most of that is tied to imaging, MRIs, and renovations in the network and mobile vans. So these are really important things for community outreach and engagement. University of Arkansas Foundation, philanthropic fundraising, 22 million. Breast Care is a lovely grant that helps all of the mammography throughout the state, and particularly through our mobile vans. And then the Radiation Oncology Center, which we didn't supply all the money for, but we did supply about 9 million for the linear accelerators and a variety of other components of that. So this is going to be important. If you looked at Oklahoma, when they went for designation, their slide showed 400 million institutional commitment. So we need pretty big numbers. They need to be believable numbers. And I think we're close to it. Okay, and then the last component is Cancer Institute Director. I'm not going to go through this, blah, 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 blah. Handsome devil. But what's critical is that there's some academic credentials. I think we've got those, that I've done grants, we've done that. And right now I'm really focusing, we've got about 7 trials open, 10 trials open through the phase 1 unit. I continue to do that. I don't necessarily want to do that. We're looking for a phase 1 leader, but I think all those components will sell very well as we go to designation. Okay, so that's the 6 essential characteristics. Pretty good shape. I'm just going to finish up with 2 slides here about other components, which because of time, we couldn't present everything. But cancer research, training, education, you've heard from before, but I want to put it in here, 1 slide. It's just run spectacularly by Tom Kelly, sitting right over here. Tom's, job is to train the next generation of cancer researchers. What does that mean? It doesn't mean postdocs. It means K through 12, all the way through graduate school to postdocs, even junior faculty, the whole bit. It's a big task. And he's collaborating a lot with Sean Rivers right here, running the graduate school. It also involves education of the faculty. So we've got Ricky Rogers being the program administrator for Grand Rounds. There's Grand Rounds that you will invite people to when they come here. That's critically important. A lot of our people we invite to Forum, which is the basic science version of that, which Zachary runs, and Ricky runs Grand Rounds. Part of that is to invite people here who might be on the study section, who's going to review our core grant. And if we show them a nice time, we don't run out of lunches, then that will go very well. So that's part of the idea. But the other part is to keep up with what's happening in oncology, which is not easy. Okay. And then the final component, which you'll hear more about as we go forward, is community outreach engagement. This is actually 35% of our score, a huge chunk. It was added to the review process about now 10 years ago by NCI. And what it meant was, we're tired of hearing about all your research. We're tired of hearing about your research dollars. We want more than that. We want to know how you are engaging your catchment area. The catchment area for us is the entire state of Arkansas. How are you addressing the citizens of Arkansas who have cancer issues? And I'm very proud to say Dan Dixon has signed on the dotted line to be the Associate Director of Community Outreach Engagement. He's coming from Kansas. Shalonda Wilson has done just a spectacular job in covering, if you will, helping out with that, organizing the navigators, an incredibly important effort. And Bev Johnson has been helping her do that. You can see the map. Those are all of our navigators that we've hired. So we're almost complete for the entire state. And they're very busy. You can see the number of patients navigated per month in the lower graph, and then the number of patients who are actually being screened for fit testing, and then they get returned. This does not include the mammograms, which is I consider part of COE. That's a separate program, and that's going out. All of those mammograms are occurring. Okay, so what's in the future real quick? I've already discussed this a little bit. Faculty recruitment, Dr. Zhu, you're going to hear from in a second, has been here about a year. About a year? Have you been here a year? 5 months. It seems like a year to him. Dan Dixon is coming. And then we have the two Rathads, who are cancer epidemiologists, I believe from MD Anderson or Southwestern. So we've gone from, and I'll say this at the expense of annoying people, but essentially no cancer epidemiology, to having Dr. Zhu, two other people, and Dr. Zhu is recruiting, and we've had applicants, really spectacular applicants. So at the end of the day, I think we'll have somewhere around 5 to 6 cancer epidemiologists, which we desperately needed. So it's really a success story. And here's that right smack in the middle. All those individuals are actively being interviewed. On either side, on the left side, we put out an ad for translational scientists. This is not what we do well. The excuse is nobody does it well. It's hard. Translational science is very difficult. And when you have a smaller basic science operation, it makes translational science even harder. But we put out an ad starting to look, and the first tumor we targeted was breast cancer because we have terrific imaging, we have terrific surgeons, and we have terrific medical oncologists. So we've got that component of it. And we've had just a terrific turnout. These are individuals who are sitting there with 1 up to 4 R01s that they would bring with them. So it demonstrates to me that we can do this, and we want to extend this effort to leukemia, GU, thank you, urology, and start pulling in these translational scientists. We have a ad out for an associate director of clinical science, and we have one very good candidate with about 300 publications. And we also have translational sciences for hematology oncology shown there. So that's the future. Strategic hiring, it's not a pan hire anymore. We're looking for places to fill gaps and get us to where we need to for this application. I want to finish up with one slide of 2 key people. These are not faculty members, but they're absolutely critical. One is Keith Gruber. Is it Keith, you here? Yep, right back there. So he's the director of finance. He provides biweekly financial assessments. He's a member of our II internal advisory board and cancer cabinet, and he's primarily responsible for our budget development. I would say if you had any financial issues, call him, but I didn't put your number down to spare him. I didn't do that for Josh, though. So Josh, we hired for the director of the facilities. He's responsible for the cold temperature, okay? Josh, you here? See, he's hiding. But he is actually critical for daily evaluation of both Rockefeller and Walker Tower. He walks every floor. So get to know him. He's there for you. He's responsible for all maintenance. And this is why I put down his phone number and his email. We would like people in the labs or in the clinics, you got a problem, email him or call him. He will then triage it. He's really good at this. So if you need somebody because the pipe broke and people are drowning, don't call us. Call Josh. And he'll move on it very fast. He's been exceedingly efficient. So we're very excited about that. Two key hires. And with that, I'm going to stop. Now, we'll go immediately to Matt for clinical trials. Matt there'll be a small amount of time after to ask him questions directly. Then we'll go to Dr. Zhu, and there'll be small time to ask questions to him. And then I'll get back up if you have questions for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see a full crowd of folks. I'm kind of going to give a snapshot of our office and where we've come really in the last 4 years. So kind of look back at 2020, before we came into the Cancer Institute, our operations were sitting within the service line. We didn't really have a support staff that was sufficient for the number of trials we need to open and enroll patients to. Our portfolio was very misaligned. We had minimal treatment enrollments, and we had no true phase 1 capacities. And at that point in time, we were doing no community interactions. So what happened in the last 4 years? So we moved into the Cancer Institute. We're now called the Clinical Trials Office, a little easier on the tongue. We have tremendous support from the Cancer Institute to help hire our staff to cover our future needs. We have an overall portfolio that's been much more realigned with our participants in really the catchment area of the state of Arkansas. We're still a continuing effort on that front. Our phase 1 unit was completed in early 2021, and I'll have a slide on that. Coming up, we've had some good collaboration with our Community Outreach and Engagement Office, as well as Dr. Bryant Smith's group, really to kind of help educate and inform the state of Arkansas about clinical trials, which is extremely important. And then our community partnerships, really interacting with the state and really, trying to get the information on clinical trials out there. So really, I'll start here with just some photos of our great office. We wouldn't be who we are today without a wonderful group of clinical trials office staff. And to that, I'm forever grateful to them. So really kind of an overview of that office. We've seen huge expansion, more than doubled since 2020 when Dr. Beer came. And now you look to now, we have 90 staff and hopefully have closer to 100 staff by the end of the year. And really who makes up that, and this is not, all encompassing of all of our staff, but we have research nurses who are patient facing and responsible for the coordination of our participants. We've got our coordinators who help with the data collection and management of our clinical trial participants. We've got our data analysts who really look at that data and get it into our electronic data capture system. A great group of specimen technicians who are responsible for all of our research specimens, blood samples, shipping, and stuff of that nature. Our administrative staff made up of our regulatory specialists who really start to finish get our studies open in a timely manner. And then our financial staff are really key to making sure that, we're getting top dollar for our studies from our industry sponsors. Really, the big question is, where are we at on accrual? From an NCI perspective, they want to see 10% of our new patient volume, which is roughly 250 patients a year. As you can see from 2020, we've had drastic increase in our clinical trial accrual. For the first 6 months of 2024, we've had 126 enrollments, and we're really projecting at about 260 for the end of the year. So we'll far exceed the 250 that are really required for NCI designation. And then GU, lung, leukemia, lymphoma, and head and neck are our top recruiters. Really kind of looking at that, we talked about the portfolio. In 2022, a lot of our studies were investigator initiated, with a lot of them having retrospective chart review, they're really not even an intervention for treatment. We're putting a lot of time and effort into those studies and not focusing on important treatment trials, which are extremely important for NCI designation. So we look at 2024 and we're seeing really a more diverse portfolio. 27% of our studies are industry sponsored, which are fantastic. They help bring in a fair amount of money to the institution. NCTN studies, which are very important. They're run by the NCI, and they have to be able to show that we can run a robust clinical trials office. And then 33% of those are IITs, which, while that's decreased, a lot of those are more interventional and treatment trials now. Highlighting a little more of the accruals over the last 3 years, we kind of see a gradual increase in our total number of accruals, but the big thing is we're seeing the increase in our interventional and treatment accruals, which is really important for NCI designation. And another thing I like to focus on are activation timelines, and I don't even show back from like 2020, 2021, when we were taking exceedingly longer to open, which was really to do with, our lack of staffing. So really, we're opening new studies and getting them open in a more timely fashion. Really looking at the demographics and the enrollments, it's important that we're enrolling clinical trial participants that look like the state of Arkansas. And we think we're doing a pretty good job with that, but as a whole, we do have room for improvement. So I show here that we're looking at about 17% African-American population, about 3% Hispanic population, around a 50-50 mix for male-female. What I'm really excited about is our 42% rural population, which kind of mirrors the state of Arkansas as a whole. And then also in the last, over the last several years, we've enrolled a participant in all 75 counties, which is extremely important. That shows that we're getting out in the community. They know what we do and they see that it's a benefit and they're coming to us. I kind of go over the clinical trial enrollments. This is just for the first 6 months then of 2024. Whoa. Sorry about that. So a little overview of our phase one clinic. Really excited about this. It was Dr. Beer's vision when he came to UAMS to have a portion of Infusion B that would be dedicated to phase one units. So we have a beautiful number of rooms down there dedicated. We currently have 12 active treatment trials that are open to enrollment. We've put 42 subjects on those, and we're really lucky that we have a dedicated phase one staff that's doing a great job of keeping it up and running, and then as well as our clinical support from our principal investigators as well as our infusion nurses. So what does this look like for serving the state of Arkansas? I put this on here as just kind of an overview of the counties that we've enrolled participants in to kind of see the hot spots, of course, Pulaski County being where we're located. But then what does that look like? So we have staff that sit at the VA in Little Rock. They're sitting right up here in the front. Very glad they're here. We've put 2 participants on our VA clinical trials over this year, which is great considering we've had 0 in the last several years. It's great to get that back up and running. Highlands Oncology Group in Northwest Arkansas has a great clinic up there. We're blessed to have staff sit up there as well to open our cooperative group studies. They've put on 8 patients so far this year. We have a good collaboration with Jefferson Regional and Pine Bluff where they have our portfolio. They're constantly calling us, referring patients potentially for clinical trials, and we've seen a good reward from that relationship. The Baptist Little Rock and North Little Rock were working towards getting clinical trials opened at Big Baptist, specifically on the cooperative group front. It's been a little slower, but I'm hopeful by the end of this year, we'll have some movement on that. Kind of hot off the press is our collaboration with St. Bernard's in Jonesboro. We're hoping to kind of have a similar process to what we have in Highlands Oncology Group. We had a real fruitful meeting with them last week. We're hoping to, be able to have a similar collaboration with them and to be able to open up cooperative group clinical trials in Northeast Arkansas. I'll end with our proton therapy. We have officially been credentialed for proton therapy. We now have clinical trials open for proton therapy as well as some registry studies, which is really important to be able to not only offer that clinically, but to also be able to have it from a clinical trial standpoint. Really from a cooperative group standpoint, I like to brag on my staff here. This has to do with our SWOG and NRG memberships. We've had multiple recognitions from SWOG being a top performing site. So this means that our data, our submissions have all been exceptional, which is fantastic. To make this list is really great. And then look at NRG, which I'm really excited about to be the #1 site for our excellence performing reports. So what they look at is for the number of accruals that we have, what does that data look like? And the data is really great. To be at the top of this list with places like Stanford and other hospitals is really, really awesome. And even to that end, we've been a top enrolling main member for the last at least 2 years, being again with groups like Cedars-Sinai and NYU is really, really impressive. So really shout out to our team. So what does the future look like for us? So we've got a bunch of lofty goals, which I think are really important. The big thing is to expand access to clinical trials to all Arkansans. We're working towards purchasing vans for transportation so that we're able to go out in the community and bring these patients to Little Rock. Increase our enrollment to African-American participants, which is extremely important. We need to be able to enroll African-American and the rural part of the state to our clinical trials. Continued collaboration with COE and PED to educate Arkansas on the importance of clinical trials. A little more trying to take our teams and bring them into more disease focus groups. That way our breast, lung, GU, GI, they all have specific teams that they're able to work with to be able to effectively enroll participants. Again, focus our research portfolio to align with the needs of Arkansans. Continue our accrual to interventional and treatment trials, and then to streamline our process to try to get in that 90-day startup timeline. I'll end on again by just continuing to brag. Our office does a lot of great stuff and they're always been really willing to go in the community, volunteer. I show the walk pictures at the top. I show also a picture from our second annual retreat. But the big thing are my bottom pictures showing, our interactions in Northwest Arkansas, our VA staff getting out in the community to educate, our nurses going to Little Rock Oncology and talking about clinical trials. We've been to Wrightsville, we've been to Pine Bluff, we've been to Batesville. We've collaborated with the Arkansas Prostate Cancer Foundation to help draw blood at community events. And that's really important, being able to get in the community and tell them what we do and why it's so important. So I'll end there. And if anybody has any questions, let me know. Wow. Crystal.
Thank you, Matt. And if there are, the other thing is you can shoot Matt an email if there's specific questions. Appreciate that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Zhu, is the Associate Director for Population and Translational Science. We were absolutely delighted and frankly lucky to recruit him from Yale, where he'd spent a long, long time, and fill this incredibly important niche in cancer epidemiology. He's leading that from not only in his own work, but from a strategic standpoint. Dr. Zhu?
Thank you, Dr. Beer. So as the newest member probably to our Cancer Institute, I'm still in my learning phase, but I try to get something done in the first about 5 or 6 months. So today also I'm going to share with you, I start with a very brief introduction of myself and also followed by introduction and report to you something I initiated, involved, and plan to do for the next couple of years. So I'm the current associate director for population and translational sciences. Also hold appointment as professor of epidemiology at our College of Public Health. I spent about 20 years as a faculty member at the Yale School of Public Health and the School of Medicine, leading 2 different programs. One is cancer prevention control program, but also a global oncology program for our Smilow Cancer, Yale Smilow Cancer Hospital. But before Yale, I finished my postdoc at Emily Anderson Cancer Centers, usually in the southern part. Also used my PhD from Rice University, also in Houston, Texas. So what's the population science? Population science is a very brief definition, that study of occurrence, distribution, possible cause, etiology of disease in cancer. In our case, in group of people, I think this is based on the definition by American Cancer Society. So if you think about it, basically preclinical research, probably involved in the very basic cell line and animal model. And also both clinical and population science, we involve people, right? We're dealing with people, so this is why epidemiology. Anything related to people, we call epidemiology. But the third part of research and implementation research, it's not my area, but that's a very brief definition of population science. But when population science intact with other field, that's translational sciences. So from population perspective, some funding from population science, for example, if you do association study, or there's 2 basic study design of epidemiology population research. When the case control, we compare from the cancer patient to normal people, we find the differences that could be related to disease risk. And also a cohort study. I think that will be one of the major focus of cohort study. We start with population, the normal people, follow up the etiology cohort. And also we start with the cancer patient, follow up for their progress and survivorship. That's the cancer survival cohort. But the importance of a cohort study, I think people can benefit from this population for decades, not just after we finish the project, we are done. But this population could follow up for 10 years, 20 years. You might also heard Harvard Nose cohort. That's about decades already. That's a lot of new fundings and impactful studies from this. So population can interact with basic research, but also clinical research. That's what we call translational research, act as a bridge between different areas of research and connecting their funding to each other and ultimately to the community at large. So within a limited time, I'm not going into details. So we do have a clear mission as the Dr. Bill required for population translational sciences to advance our understanding of cancer at population level and develop strategies for translating scientific discoveries into practical application for cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. So we have several visionary goals. I think we'll not have time to go to detail, but next, a couple of slides, some effort that you can have a little better understand what we want to do. So we do have some current and future plans. I hope to further build a critical mass and also build infrastructure for population and translational sciences here at our Cancer Institute and also at UMS. So some ongoing effort, we launched, I think we are trying to recruit population scientists in the field. We have a good number of applicants. And also we interviewed 7 of them for very great, very solid candidate. I think we completed two on-site interview. I think we are going to move further with the other 2 candidates, and hopefully we can get some great candidate. One great saying that one of them is the work on lung cancer early detection. I think that's the fit need. Lung cancer is a major issue in our state. A second ongoing effort, we're putting together a cohort grant. And the cohort grant not only just benefit the investigator involved, currently involved in the grant, but as we mentioned that they could follow up for multiple years, or for decades. So this we call the Arkansas Cancer Survival Cohort. We try to compare rural-urban differences in terms of cancer outcome. The short-term goal, that's the quality of life, or call them follow-up. That's the disease-free survival and also overall survival. So we work with several faculty members from College of Public Health and also from our Cancer Institute. This is just a specific RFA now announced by NCI. I think that that's only for 2 years. The last submission will be next year to 2025, January. I think after this submission, probably we're going to one more chance to revise and resubmit. Hopefully and also to build some foundation. If we couldn't get the grant from this submission, but we can further develop this submit to other funding mechanisms. So there's a cohort approach. And another ongoing effort, we try to integrate the population data for our catchment areas. I think we have a retreat in May. We discussed what's our catchment areas, what issue we are facing. Now we just hire new people, Danny sitting in the audience as a research program manager. We try to combine all the resources to build a shared resources website that including instructions on using some related data sources, for example, our cancer registry, OPS claim data set, and our behavioral risk system, and we call the Phoenix tool, just phenotype data, but some other data set, including some food desert, right? We talk about nutrition part, the food desert map, different counties. But these will be great resources for people who are interested in population science. Then they can just go to this website, then just you have all the related data available for you to conduct your population study. Also good for identify issues related to our catchment area. We need to demonstrate the clear data to justify some ongoing effort and the future approach for our catchment area. Also preparing, this also related NCI SEER grant. The SEER stands for the Surveillance, Epidemiology, and the Results Program. It provides information on cancer statistics. The one difference between cancer registry and the SEER data, we have annual update. Follow up all these patients, annual update. So great resources. But in order to be part of a SEER database, I think US currently about 14 states are part of the SEER database covering 35% of the entire US population. I think in order to be part of those, we need high quality data, but also the challenge for us, we need timely and more accurate the collection of cancer data in order to meet their requirement. I think that's another offer. We're working with Arkansas Department of Health to work on this. That's another huge grant we're going to submit in the next 1 year and 2 years. Also developing ovarian cancer early detection program. This is some idea in my mind for a long time, but not only ovarian cancer detection, probably lung cancer early detection. That's based on the findings from our current funded grant, and also some ongoing study, not even including the grant, because ovarian cancer, that's the major issue, diagnosed at a later stage. This is why high mortality rate. And the things why we want to build this detection program, because ovarian cancer is very rare. We couldn't probably find enough cases from our hospital. We have to connect and recruit patients from multiple hospitals and the data resources. So this will be something we be some ongoing effort we're doing. Some planned effort. So that's also related to our cancer registry and the SEER data. We try to explore the feasibility of rapid case ascertainment system. So what's the system? This system basically just identify cancer patients shortly after diagnosis, but very important. For example, if firstly will help our clinical trials, and we need statewide data from all the hospitals, if you're interested in different cancer patient or different cancer type, right after diagnosis, if you're involved for clinical trial enrollment, but also for population-based research. For example, for etiology study, we collect biosample before treatment, because treatment can cause a lot of changes in our body. So specifically for biomarker identification, we get all the data before treatment and specifically the molecular data that reflect changes before, I think, not caused by cancer treatment, chemo and radiation. So it's very important. Also, this system, rapid case ascertainment, I think in the US currently less than 10 states, they have this rapid case ascertainment. They can just help to get RB approval if you want just access to cancer patient. This rapid case ascertainment will provide a service for you, then save you a lot of time. I think if we build up this infrastructure, that greatly help our both population and clinical research. So as we mentioned, that in addition to a survival cohort, we also have planned to establish a cancer etiology cohort. That's through population follow-up, because a lot of special issues, our outcomes are not only have high mortality rate, but also high cancer incidence if compared to the rest of the country. So we really need to build up something at the population level to identify risk factors why it increase our cancer risk. I think there will be something for next couple of years. So we just learned just the mobile health screening system. I think it's a great help. We can use this system to recruit participants and also to build this kind of etiology call. I just stop here. Some effort just started, and any suggestions and questions?
Questions for Dr. Zhu or questions for me? Or Matt? Yeah, we're gonna have to feed you more, okay? Any other questions? Concerns? You can always email any of us individually with suggestions or questions, okay? Thank you for attending.